Today on the Torn Podcast, we review the latest DC movie that's part Black Panther, part Star Wars, and a little bit of Lord of the Rings. It's Finding Nemo 3.
What an open.
What's up, guys? So we're all home for the holidays. I got Alan and Matt in person today. Guys, what's going on?
How's it going, dude? Going pretty good. Good to see you guys. And
Doing great.
Yeah.
Love the in-person recordings.
I mean, they're always fun, you know?
yeah.
They're always good.
Yeah.
all our knees are touching.
Yeah. This is going to devolve into something else pretty soon.
So guys, we just got out of...
Cut that out. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We'll keep that in.
Sorry, keep going.
What do we see today, Nick?
I don't know. You tell us. We just walked out of the theater. So we just got out of Aquaman. So we wanted to give a spoiler review of the latest entry in the DC Universe line of movies. So let's just get into it here, guys.
And for the listeners, we have not talked about this movie since coming out of
Yeah, so we so we agreed at the start of it we weren't going to discuss any thoughts about what it was until we started and hit the record button.
This is raw.
This is raw.
It was difficult to do. Also, it was not an easy thing to just walk out.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of looks were exchanged. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of sideways glances, a lot of kicking popcorn.
Yeah, Alan.
All right.
At least you didn't spill
Who puts
it, so.
popcorn right in the middle of the aisle?
Well, I need it for easy access, and I want to hold it the whole time.
Anyway.
Moving on.
All right, so let's start off by just giving some of our general thoughts of the movie. Overall, no spoilers, no.
Wait, no spoilers?
Well, for now,
Oh,
just
just
for the
like-
people who are just listening in,
alright.
we'll get into full spoilers in a little bit, but just kind of like paint with broad
Okay.
strokes here.
Alright.
Okay.
My overall impression of the movie was it seemed like this movie had the budget of like a AAA movie with dialogue that was written by someone who works for CW. I'm talking like Vampire Diaries type dialogue with like weird moments and weird like relation. I don't know. It's just I like I was just like not uncomfortable, but just like cringed a lot, and some of the stuff was just like it was too much. It was too cliche. It was too dramatic. I'll talk about this more also when we get into it. But I think there were too many too many story paths and too many things being introduced. And I'll go into more detail with that later. But I just felt like it was kind of all over the place, and I wasn't like super rooting for Aquaman. He was cool. I wasn't really rooting against some of the other characters. I didn't really feel strongly about some of the other characters. There was one part at the end where I was kind of like, oh man, like that's sad. And then they didn't really like go in more in depth in that. And then when they finally did, I was just like, they ruined it and they made it like really cheesy. And I was like, this sucks. But I will say the action I thought was top notch. It was sweet. And it was like my favorite kind of like slow-mo, like not cartoony, but like stylized or like 300 kind of thing.
Yeah, that was what would be one of mine. It was like the tracking shots, like this, like they followed through. They didn't cut. They just kind of followed the character, and then something else was going on in another part of the battlefield, and they would just zoom over there instead of cutting to. So you kind of knew where everybody was. The spatial awareness on this movie, I think, you really knew where everybody was in relation to one another, and I thought the action was great.
I did too, and that thing you just talked about, like the camera moving and not cutting and stuff, I thought is awesome because I always felt like in the Lord of the Rings that happened a lot, where it would just be like cut, like sword slash, cut to something else, and I thought this was very, very cool. Even if it was all CG, which I think it was.
Yeah, a lot of it was. I'm sure some of the
yeah.
costumes looked like they were real, though.
Yeah. It didn't seem like the hair might have been CGI because the way they were making it like...
how it's like floating in the water and everything.
That probably was.
It looked really good, though. I thought the CGI was actually really well done, like very... As close to authentic looking as
I remember
as
when we first saw some of the trailers, we were worried a little bit about what the CG was going to look like, and I think in the theater... I think they were able to finish it up and touch it up enough that I didn't really mind. I mean, you obviously knew what parts were CG and what parts were not, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty good for what we feared. Yeah,
I agree. That's kind of my thoughts though. So Alan, do you want to?
I think the story was very cheesy, and there was even just some stuff that just didn't make sense. So there was a lot of like discontinuity in the stories, and like I feel like anytime like a bad guy came in, there always had to be some explosion that like busted open like the wall, or like just like there's normal talking scenes going on. Also, just like something explodes, and then like a bad dude comes in every like it happened like 6 or 7.
That part didn't bother me. It was the music cues and like some of the, like again what Matt said, some of the dialogue. Like when a character got introduced, they'd have to say their name, like his name was Manta, and it was like it's like what the fuck.
Yeah. That scene was pretty rushed too. I was like, right now you decide to talk about this? You guys are like
so I'm gonna blame the fumblings of Justice League and the past DC movies on some of this, because from what I understand, a lot of Aquaman's backstory, and I think with his father and his mom and a lot of the Mira stuff, was supposed to take place in Justice League, and Justice League was ultimately supposed to set up Aquaman, so you can just jump right into the Aquaman story. But with the firing of Zack Snyder and the taking over of Joss Whedon and all the stuff that happened on the Warner Brothers offices, I think a lot of that got left on the chopping block, and the Aquaman movie had to make up for what Justice League ultimately failed in. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of a break there. But yeah, it did feel like it had like 45 different beginnings. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, we'll talk a little bit about when we get into spoilers. But it felt like it started like 4 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What were your overall?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of right in line with there. I think this is one of the most beautiful like looking movies. I think all the underwater stuff was really cool, super creative, unlike anything I've seen in a movie before. Some of the creatures and like the armor designs and all that stuff I thought was very like really cool. But ultimately, I mean, yes, the dialogue severely lacking, and part of that, I think, is maybe... Now, I'm not a big horror fan, but the director of this movie, James Wan, comes from the horror genre. So
which isn't
known for great dialogue, and you know what I mean? So, yeah. But it was a cheesy movie, but I think ultimately it was a fun movie. Would I go... Now, it was a little too long for my taste. Definitely. I don't know if I would sit through it all again. Maybe I'd have to be a while before I watch this again. Not because I didn't like it, just because it's very long, and right. But otherwise, I liked it. I had a good time. I had a good time at the movies. It was a good movie-going experience. It's a popcorn movie, you know?
Yeah, which is good, because I bought the large, so...
Which Alan kicked, yeah.
I did knock it over, though. I
will say.
Like
that
60
was
feet.
Best-case scenario. As we laughed, and I didn't lose any popcorn. So.
All right, guys, you guys ready to get into some actual spoilers and really dive deep into this a little bit? Okay. So spoilers from here on out. If you have not seen Aquaman, you have been warned. Go see it. Pause the podcast. Go see it. Join us again in 2.5 hours. Yeah. 2.5 hours. Okay, guys. Let's start with some positives here. Let's. I think we kind of already talked about it, but what were some of the things that really stood out to you? And feel free to spoil anything and get into deep about characters or whatever. But what were some of the positives you thought in this movie?
Okay. I'll go first. I thought that I said it earlier. I think the action was so awesome. It was like my favorite type of action because there was a lot of slow motion, which I thought was very cool. There was a lot of like Nick was saying, like the tracking and not really just like cutting all over the place. I thought that was so well done and so cool, and I just think that was great. There was that one scene where they were like in Italy, and it's just like there was a lot going on. But I just thought I remember watching that being like, this is so cool and so well done, and just like the stunts were awesome, and like people were flying all over the place, and it looked like people were flying all over the place. Yeah. I thought that was...
You know what I noticed about that? I think it was the scene when they're on the sub, when we first get introduced to like Black Manta and all that stuff. Aquaman like takes a guy and he flips him upside down, and he's like upside down, and he throws him against the wall, and the camera moves like with the guy.
Yeah.
And it was taken, I think, that was very inspired by The Raid. I'm pretty sure the hallway scene in the original Raid movie has the exact same shot
Wow.
And it's just fun. It's fun picking up on little stuff like that in a post-Raid world, because going back to martial arts movies, which we always talk about, that movie had such a influence on, like a lot of movie people say, like, post-Raid, pre-Raid and post-Raid, like the way it was shot and filmed and like all that stuff had such an effect on how action was shot after that movie came out, and it was cool to pick up on little stuff like that. So that reminded me.
Wow.
That scene reminded me of it. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. Because I liked that too. The camera did that a lot of times, or would like there was a time where, what was that girl's name?
Mira? Yeah, Amber Heard's character. Yeah.
She like spun around underwater and then like knocked someone off something.
Yeah.
And the camera spun with her, and there were just like cool things like that I thought were really awesome.
And there's some really creative moments, like the wine spikes that she makes at the end of the movie, and like she like impaled. And did you guys catch all the narwhals like fucking like spiking dudes in the battle at the end?
No.
There was narwhals, and they like swim by and they like stab the dude with their horns or whatever. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you guys had caught that in the movie, but
wow, no, I didn't catch that. I would say that the action I thought was really, really good. If that movie, that's why towards the end of the movie, after that Italy scene, I was like, this is actually pretty sweet. I'm actually now enjoying it. And if I wasn't sitting there for an hour and 45 minutes before that, I probably would have been more invested in it.
Yeah.
But I think that overall the action was really well done and really cool. The stunts were really awesome. Like when whatever that guy's name was, Black Mantha? Was that his name?
Black Mantha.
What does that even mean?
Like a manta ray? Or maybe it is Manta and not Mantha. Maybe I'm thinking of the hockey player Anthony Mantha. It's Manta, like a manta ray. Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. And that's probably is that what his helmet was supposed to look like? Instead of a fucking alien?
No, I think...
I
don't know what the original comic book like idea behind it was, but I think it was just he made it really big and wide to be able to harness that like beam
laser.
energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, when he gets Aquaman throws that thing and he gets knocked off and falls down falls down all the cliffs and stuff. I thought that was so. I thought the stunts were really, really good in the movie, and I like that.
Yeah.
They could have just shown him go overboard and then be like, oh look, he's dead down there.
Yeah.
But like they showed him fall down all that stuff and smash into everything, and I just think that was very cool. So, the action, all the action I think in the movie was really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably my my big highlight I think for the movie was the action. Cool.
I think my big thing was I actually thought Jason Momoa did a really, really good job as the leading role. So like,
wow, okay.
I think the lines and like dialogue that he was given were like kind of cheesy and lame and weird, but I thought his delivery and his portrayal of like Aquaman were actually pretty good.
He kind of like in a comedic sense, he kind of played it like a straight man, like all this crazy stuff was happening around it, and he's like kind of bringing it back down to earth, or being like the audience, like yeah, right, okay, you know what I mean, that kind of personality comes through. Yeah,
and I'm not sure if maybe it was just the supporting roles were kind of lacking, and that's what made him kind of stand out to me. But I thought he just was a very believable Aquaman, and he did a really good job in all his deliveries. So
yeah. So we had Jason Momoa as Aquaman. We had.
I'll go on and on about the negatives.
Yeah. We had Jason Momoa as Aquaman. We had Amber Heard as Mira. Nicole Kidman played his mom. We had the dude who played Jango Fett as his dad from Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
We had Willem Dafoe. We had Willem Dafoe as Volko. Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master, and fucking Dolph Lundgren as like the other king.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, Dolph Lundgren. Who else was in this movie? I don't know. So it was a kind of a star-studded cast. They got a lot of people for this. I was surprised at the number of people they were able to get for this kind of movie. Any characters out of that kind of stand out to you as somebody you liked?
What was Mara's name?
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard, the actress. Yeah.
She was just really great. It's really great overall.
Yeah, just really
great costume design. Yeah.
Great costume design. Yeah, she just did really great. She was just great, really great. Everything was great.
Alan, how about you? Any characters stand out in particular besides Jason Momoa?
Besides Jason Momoa.
How do you feel about Black Manta?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was cool. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
No, his the actor though.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of.
I
thought it was overly acted.
Definitely.
Oh,
but I don't
that was.
I don't think it was his fault. I just think like the things that
we're talking about goods though right now, aren't we?
Yeah, we can transition.
Well, sure, we're kind of
we're just
fluidly going.
fluidly going. That's
We can
fine.
go back. We can go
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
But I felt like with all the, like, honestly, Amber Heard or whatever, she was fine, really, because like they were all fine. It was okay.
Right.
But I think just the writing was so dramatic, and like in that first, I'm going.
Honestly, the opening scene when we first get introduced to Black Manta, I thought was fine.
Really?
I thought it was fine.
I hated it.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. I thought it was cool. I mean, it's fine. But it was shot very weird though, because like it was shot as if we were supposed to feel very sympathetic for Black Manta, and I'm like, wait, he's the bad guy. Why do I feel like Jason Momoa is the dick for leaving him? And then there was a throwaway.
He didn't kill him.
Right, and then there was a throwaway line later on where he's like, I shouldn't have done that, but that's all we got. There wasn't really a better learning moment for him. So it was fine ultimately, but like I don't know. I felt like we were supposed to think like, oh, are we supposed to be rooting for Black Manta for this whole movie?
We didn't even know who he was at that point.
Right.
Either. Like it was all just so rushed that I had no like time to be like, okay, who do I feel for? Who do I have like sympathy for?
Yeah.
And, like create an opinion on this because it was just like thrown in my face and like, all right, this is how you should feel because this guy's all vengeful and stuff. I was like,
so
hold on.
I thought that was the makings of a really good movie or a good arc for the character.
Yeah.
Where I think it fell apart is once he gets the suit, everything he said while in the suit in that scene in Sicily, which the action was really cool. I agree with you there, Matt. But everything he said, the dialogue was very cheesy, very comic booky, like 2002, like Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire style campy. Like he's just like yelling like, I'm gonna get my revenge. You know what I mean? Or just saying like really cliche villain stuff.
Like, who are you? And he's like, maybe this will help you.
Yeah,
and he draws his sword out, and you're like,
yeah.
right.
I'm like, so that's where it kind of fell apart for me a little bit. But otherwise, the positives for me, I think visually, I think the art, like I said before, the armor design, how they designed Atlantis with all like the glowing lights, and how they implemented like sea life into their daily routine, and like all the ships were like fish inspired. I thought that was really cool. All right, so let's transition into some negatives here then officially. So we can always go back and talk about things we did like, but let's talk about the negatives here.
So can we talk about the opening scene because she, like
I don't know if
it's a very
the pirating scene, right?
Well, not the pirating scene. So when like his mom and dad like met, and like they like have him and stuff, and they go through all that, and they like come to take her away, and she's like, I'm not going, and like kills a bunch of people, and then it, like it cuts to another scene. She's on the pier, and she's like, I have to go back. And it's like, well, like
why did you just murk all those people?
Yeah, maybe because she wanted to go on her terms. And she didn't get to say goodbye. She would have just had to leave at that moment.
That could be. That could be
worth killing like 5 of your people. Like it just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe she thought they were gonna hurt her son and the husband, or her, the dad. So like she's like, okay, I got to protect them, and then I'll come back.
I guess, but like, what I still don't understand is like I feel like they were able to track everyone in the movie. Like they instantly knew like, oh, she's here. We need to go capture her. Yeah. And I'm like, how do they? If she was like trying to get away so that they couldn't like get to her son or something, like why couldn't they just track the son and like figure out where he was?
Well, they tracked the girl because she had the bracelet.
Right.
Yeah, but like what about the scene when they're having like the secret meeting in like that abandoned ship, right?
Yeah.
And they like break in and they like are like capturing Aquaman. They're like, you're here illegally, but they have no idea that the other 2 people are there.
Was she still wearing the bracelet at that point?
Well, like there was no bracelet at that point.
Oh,
was it?
We weren't shown the bracelet at that point.
No, I mean she probably was wearing the bracelet at that point.
But like how would they know that like she was there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that doesn't make sense then because she
like
probably had the bracelet.
Right. It seemed like they like selectively tracked people throughout the movie and then like just didn't know that other people
just
were
whatever
there.
fit the plot at that point. Right, like, we need them to show up right now, so we'll do that.
It was like driving me insane.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I get that. That was kind of not great.
Yeah.
I guess the big complaint I had with this movie is that there were too many things that were introduced, and I didn't feel strongly connected with any of them. So they did the whole thing, like, I totally agree with your complaint about Black Manta and his dad dying, where I was like, good, he probably should die. They probably murdered tons of people. And he was not a bad guy for leaving him there because he didn't kill him. He could have just, like, killed the dad. Instead, he said, the sea is going to have to give you mercy or whatever. Yeah. And then that's kind of valid because maybe that torpedo would lift once all the water gets submerged over it. They didn't even find out. He just blew himself up before he was basically, like...
That torpedo probably would have, he would have been able to move that torpedo out of the way, I think, right?
Yeah,
if it was submerged underwater.
But I'm just wondering if once all the water flows into the room, if they both, with their combined strengths... just like kind of lifted up the thing enough for the dad to get out, he might have lived.
Right.
Not really the point though.
Also, like, how is he detonating a grenade in a room full of torpedoes and not like blowing everything up?
Yeah.
Like, why did just the grenade explode? And
I
not
don't know.
literally the
That whole
entire
scene
ship?
had a bunch of.
Like, I just,
You're so right. You're so
weird
right.
moments.
So I went on a tangent, but really the thing that I didn't like is that they introduced too much stuff. They had that whole storyline with Black Manta. They had the whole storyline about the different kingdoms, which I really wish they would have done more with the different kingdoms because I thought that was so cool.
That's where I was getting a little bit of a Lord of the Rings vibe. Like there's a bunch of lore there that I think could have been really touched on that was really cool, and like how they once were together but they kind of all split up once Atlantis sunk, and then some became like these weird fish creatures and all that stuff like that. I thought that was really cool, but it was kind of just a throwaway. It was all exposition based. It's like, oh, we're gonna quickly tell you all this to catch you up to speed.
That's really similar to how they did it in like Black Panther too, where there's the different tribes and they have like the trial by combat. But I felt like I was way more immersed into Black Panther than I was into like the Atlantis stuff.
Like you were connected, kind of like you were like, oh, these are interesting. I want to see more about this. I want to see what happens with that kind of stuff.
Well, right? I think with the difference between the Marvel and the DC stuff is like the DC movies have a tendency to tell you by exposition instead of showing you and make you like understand by watching. I think Black Panther did a very good job of it told you more by stuff that was unsaid than stuff that was just like DC. The DC movies have a tendency to talk at you because they're throwing so much information at you, and I think Black Panther did a much better job of setting the world up. But I mean, they're both visually, both movies are amazing. I think. You know
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I didn't feel like I cared much about Black Manta. I honestly thought they could have left him and that whole storyline out of this movie, and then I would have learned more about the brother.
Right.
And maybe sympathized with him or like learned more about him. Or then there was the whole thing with the mom.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the dad. And that was the one moment in the movie where I really was like connected when Aquaman saw his mom again, and he was Dad goes to the end of the dock every day. Like,
that was nice.
For you. I was like,
really
damn,
cool.
that's really sad. And I feel like that would have been like a good connection, like a good tug of the heartstrings type.
Well,
moment.
we got the payoff at the end because they finally meet up, but
it was a terrible payoff.
It was a terrible payoff because they did the slow motion run together.
So
what the fuck?
That was terrible.
I love when that happened. We all just kind of looked at each other like,
Even right before that, I was like, this scene better make me cry.
Right.
I better cry here.
Right.
And then I was just like, oh,
they slow motion run at each other and embrace.
In the air. Yeah, that was garbage.
Yeah,
that was pure garbage.
Can we talk about the random kiss in the middle of the battle with Aquaman and Mira for whatever reason?
Yes, we can.
It just seemed like you got to do this now. Like I get that you guys maybe like are into each other, but like there's a fucking war going on around you. Why are you making out? And then I loved your comment in the theater, Matt. You like tap me and you go, oh, she's got the leg up a little bit there.
Yeah, like it wasn't just a kiss.
Yeah,
she like wrapped her leg around him.
Yeah,
they were like necking pretty hard. So pretty inappropriate thing to be doing in the middle of a war.
Right.
But I don't know. It was just stuff like that. It was just I don't know. I just felt like I didn't really care about a lot of the stuff in the movie. I thought the action was great, like I said, but I just think there was too much stuff being thrown at you, and I didn't feel invested in any of it.
Yeah. So. Do you think Aquaman controlling the monster that he had to fight to get the trident at the end was a good payoff? Like, that's the monster he was riding at the end. I think that was meant to be.
Oh,
that's why it had all the tentacles and stuff.
But I wish like when they emerged from that thing and there's these like dinosaurs running around, you and I looked at each other and we were like, what the fuck?
What is this?
What is this?
Oh, also the title cards. Like obviously we're in the ocean somewhere. It says somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, no shit. We got it.
In the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why there's so much sand around.
Like I get it. You have to put Sicily or whatever because in case people don't recognize like the boot of Italy or whatever. You know, I get that. But like the rest of it's like, yeah, we're in the ocean. We get it.
Yeah. But that one, when they came up in the dinosaurs river, it was like something Earth's inner core.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a whole other thing now. Like, the trench were cool. Those animals were so cool.
Yeah.
And those like crab creature, the brine, they were so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like wanting to learn more about the trench. I wanted to see more about that. And then all of a sudden they emerge in the quote unquote inner core of Earth.
Right.
Is that what that was supposed to be? Because like
Earth's core, it said,
that does not make sense. And I wish I could have learned more about that.
The whole
I know
movie
it doesn't make sense, but I just that's kind of just what I mean by like I want to learn more about that. That place looked awesome. There were crystals everywhere. There were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about that instead of being like, oh, this other guy's trying to kill him, but this other guy's trying to kill him. Not only this guy's trying to get this huge army, and he's got to kill all these people, and it's just like, I felt like it was all over the place, and I wish they would have focused a little bit more.
Those title cards did treat us like we were dumb, though, a little bit. Like, I remember the one that really pissed me off was they're in the boat to the trench, they dive down, and then they're swimming, and obviously, by context clues in the story, you know they're there. They're right there. But that was a cool shot, by the way, when they start diving down, you see, like, all of them, like, swarming.
That was
sweet. And then they dive down, and they start swimming towards the trench. Like, they're like, we gotta get to the trench! And they finally get to the trench, and then the title card says, the trench, or whatever. And we're like, yeah, no shit! Like, stop treating us like we're dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
The one other thing that kind of bothered me, too, that just didn't make sense to me was, like, it was clearly a patriarchal, like, society and, like, a hierarchy, right?
Sure.
Like, the king and stuff.
Yeah.
So why is Aquaman's character, Arthur, a bastard son of the queen? Why does he have a right to the throne that's run by a king? Like, I don't understand, like, lineage-wise, why a king's no blood tied to the king at all.
Right.
Why he had more of a claim to the throne than the purebred brother of his.
Right.
That was both the king and the queen. Like,
right. Unless
the queen had, like, which I'm fine with if it's a queen.
Well, unless
thing, like.
Well, no, I'm not sure. Well,
it seemed like everything pointed at that it was like a king's like a.
I don't know
ocean, and it was the king's army.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story behind, like, with the comic book version or whatever, but maybe like Orm's dad had died, and then she was reigning queen left over.
Oh.
And then she.
Well, that must have happened because she was still alive. And
but then Orm was still alive, right? His half brother was still alive, so he would have had claim to the throne anyway.
Yeah. It was
that's
kind of confusing in the sense that, like, what's the lineage? Like, how does it work in this? Because it didn't make any sense that there was a king that was the head of the army, but it was the bastard son of the queen that had the right to the throne. It was weird. It didn't line up with any, like, normal lore that you'd hear from medieval or anything like that.
That was a little confusing. That's a good point. That's a real good point, actually.
Yeah. Well, also, was his name purposely... Did they deliberately choose to have him become King Arthur?
You know, that was something I never really picked up on, and then when they said it out loud, I go, "Oh, that sounds a little weird," but I
like
get
King
it.
Arthur.
But then you start seeing
you
start seeing the allusions to, he's like nobody. He comes into royalty. He picks up the trident which nobody else could pick up except he could pick it up. So you start to see some of the allusions there. The Excalibur, stuff, which I never really picked up on, and I don't know if that was something specific they did for the movie or if that's how it is in the comics. I'm not really sure. But
I guess if that makes sense. There are a lot of, like, analogies and stuff to that. So I guess I'm okay with that then. But I was like, man, that's a pretty popular name, King Arthur. It's you could have picked any other name.
Right.
So they must have done it deliberately.
Yeah. So one thing that the DC movies really don't put too much into frame of reference that I think is a good way to view all these movies, and I'm surprised nobody has really done it, is so the DC movies are different from the Marvel movies because Marvel movies are ordinary people who happen to get superpowers and then how they deal with that. And the DC movies come at it as a frame of what if all the gods that we believed in from the past, mostly being Greek gods, Roman gods, still exist today. And so you got gods living among people. So, like, that's why obviously Aquaman's supposed to be Poseidon, Wonder Woman is supposed to be like Athena and all that stuff. The Flash is supposed to be Mercury, all that. Like, so they're supposed to be like modern day interpretations of gods.
Right.
I wish they would have, and we kind of got, I mean, they mentioned Poseidon just very briefly in the movie. I wish they would have framed all these DC movies in terms of that and how, like, well, I guess we got it a little bit in Wonder Woman too. You know what I mean? Like,
because the villain was
Ares, right? The God of War. Yeah. So I wish they would have put more focus on that, and I think that would have that would help the audience kind of understand who they are, and, like, you know what I mean. I think it would have been a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier to swallow with all this stuff, but
and I'm sure there's, like, some really good, like, Greek mythology concepts and, like, lore that they could tap into and use and have, like, a better story if they based it more on that kind of
absolutely
because those are timeless tales, like
yeah. So I think Batman's supposed to be like Hades or something like that, like out of the underworld, obviously, but
dang, I didn't know that sounds awesome.
Yeah, see, when you frame it like that, you're like, oh shit, this is cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Wow.
Anyway.
Well.
So let's get into some. Let's talk about our official rating for the movie here. So give me your final thoughts and your rating for the movie, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here.
Final thoughts are that I was pretty entertained. I thought the action was incredible. I just wish it was a little shorter and more focused on like the A storyline. Like pick one and just focus on that more. Mm-hmm. I would give this probably a 3.5 out of 5. I think.
Cool.
Maybe a 3. I'll stick with 3.5.
Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I think it was visually really, really appealing and engaging and interesting. But I think I enjoyed my popcorn more than I enjoyed the dialogue of the movie. So
wow,
didn't really
That's
care
a
for it too
tagline.
much. Yeah,
That's a good motto right there.
So I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 2 out of 5 bottles.
Wow. Okay.
Just
wow.
didn't do much for me.
Yeah. I think I got to go. Amazing visuals, very creative world building, terrible dialogue. I think I got to go about, I think a 3 out of 5, I think, for me. I'm excited. I think DC, their movies are slowly getting back on track and getting, like, it's they're fighting themselves at this point, but they're getting there. I mean, Wonder Woman was a step up. I think Aquaman was a little bit more of a step up from here. Hopefully, by the time the Batman movie comes out, the solo Batman movie, they could really, really get the wheel spinning and actually get moved forward. But so it's an improvement, but it's not much of an improvement. So yeah, I think 3 out of 5 bottles of mead for me. So guys, how do you feel about the state of DC movies now? Do you think? I mean, I kind of told you what I thought, but do you are you excited to see what the next one's going to be when that whatever comes out? If it's going to be Suicide Squad 2, the Batman movie, whatever. Are you guys looking forward to the next? Wonder Woman 2, whatever. Are you guys looking forward to the next DC movie, or are you kind of like, nah, I'm done. I've seen enough.
I know I'm normally very critical of DC movies,
but
I think I am looking forward to it because, like you said, Nick, I honestly think these movies are getting better. I think they're still very subpar and just not that great, but they are improving. So I think they're trying to move in the right direction, which is always like a good sign, and I think that keeps me engaged because it's like, all right, maybe this next one will have that little bit of an edge, and it'll pique my interest. So I don't feel like they're deteriorating, which is good. Like if they're deteriorating, I would just
they're getting worse. Yeah,
then it's just like, I'm not gonna bother. But like I do feel like they're improving. So
Matt, how about you?
I don't think I'm really that excited. I think maybe I'll see. Like the only reason I saw this is because we are all home, and we saw it all together and stuff like that. But I don't think I otherwise would normally seek out a DC movie, except maybe like a Batman one, because those Batman ones were really good when the Dark Knight and that kind of stuff. So I don't think I'm that excited. I think they're probably doing fine, but we'll see. We'll see if I end up seeing it.
Nah, I agree. I think I'm right with Alan. I'm interested, but I'm not. They got a long way to go, I think, to get up to where the Marvel movies are. Not in terms of like if you were to equate this to one of the Marvel movies, I guess like rating wise, like where would you guys put this? Like in the Ant-Man levels and the Infinity. It's definitely not on an Infinity War level.
No.
You know what I mean? It's definitely I would probably put this somewhere if we were to rank all these films, superhero films. This would probably fall like one of the maybe one of the lower ones. Maybe like Guardians 2 or like Ant-Man or something.
Or like one of the shitty X-Men movies or something.
Yeah, like
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past is a good one.
It was really bad.
Maybe like X3 or something like that. X-Men 3 or like Wolverine Origins or something like that.
Or the one that they just had with like the Four Horsemen and stuff in it.
Apocalypse?
Yeah, Apocalypse I thought was kind of...
Apocalypse was terrible. I hated that movie.
I'll put it on par with that, yeah.
Oh, really? I would definitely put it above that. But anyway, yeah. All right, cool guys. Any last word here? No.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. This has been an episode of Torrent. We'll see you next time. Well, that's it for this episode of The Torrent. Thank you all for listening. Download, rate, and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast service. If you want to get in contact with us, feel free to send us an email, thetorrentpodcast@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us on Facebook and Twitter @TheTorrentPod. We'll see you guys next time.